Hello, hello. Welcome back to the weekly podcast. No more excuses. And it is time for your Monday motivation, right? I am your host, Sandi Ballard. Thanks for listening. Thanks for those of you who have reached out and connected with me on social media, like Stephen and Laura. Laura, you know who you are. I see you on a regular basis. She's here in Indy. I appreciate you guys listening, and for all of you listening, whether you've reached out or not, and sharing my podcasts, because that is helping me, and I really appreciate that. So again, when you're connecting with me on social media, make sure you let me know that you're a listener so I can connect with you back, I guess. So, all right. Well, last week was about doing a little more each day than you thought you could. And in turn, this helps you keep on keeping on, right? What more were you able to do? It's more like, what were you willing to do for you, right? To get the results you wanted, to generate progress toward your goals. In last week's podcast, I actually shared a story about one of my clients, how she and her staff or her team, I guess, were keep on keeping on, and her and her team were persevering in the face of misfortune, staying focused and on task in spite of being short-staffed. And it's been great just seeing how they're, just getting everything done and staying on top of things as best they can. And from what I hear, they will shortly be not short-staffed. So another person I heard from, this ties into one of the other things I preach about, rewarding yourself, right? She had fallen behind, getting kind of frustrated, and just her list kept growing and growing and growing. And she decided to do the one more thing on her to-do list. So she was looking at her to-do list and she's like, okay, before I reward myself, I'm going to do one more thing. And it was usually something small, but so what? It was something that still needed to get done, right? She had to refocus, look at her list and say, what's one more thing I can do? And it had to be done. And she would then do her reward, which was usually some social media stuff or maybe her favorite game on her phone. And it seems counterintuitive, more work first, right? But by reinstating her reward, because that's the thing she had checked out, she was so frustrated and so stressed out and overwhelmed about being behind that she decided to stop rewarding herself, stop giving her mind that break. And in turn, it was just causing, craziness, wreaking havoc on her day. So she said after the week that she practiced this and she reinstated her reward, her little break, she looked back at her progress and felt more accomplished and less likely to work over the weekend. She would work on the weekends because of guilt from the wasted time and just the not getting done, feeling overwhelmed. And as a result, she felt more focused and energized. So that's kudos to her for talking with me and helping her get her back on track and finding out that she was not giving herself that break. And so in turn, she was just getting, she was less effective, less productive. And now she's in one more thing, just one more thing she could do each day, right? So again, what are you willing to do for you, for the results you desire? Everyone gets off track, right? Distractions are everywhere. I had a shit ton of them last week, and distractions, they steal your brain space, they steal your energy, and most importantly, your time. And then when you get behind, you get frustrated, you're not working towards your goals, and, shit goes sideways, right? And you have to decide how badly you want it. How do these distractions play into your life? And sometimes it's just shit you have to deal with. For example, I have a client I've been emailing about checking in with her because we're a few weeks out from a meeting. And I'm like, how are things going? And she wasn't responding. And then I actually had a referral for her and she didn't respond. And I'm like, that's kind of strange. So I texted her and she apologized. She had been at doctor appointments. She has 2 boys and she had been at doctor appointments one after another after another. That's a distraction. It's part of life. there's not a whole lot she could have done at that point, right? Except just keep on keeping on. So, when you're looking at different things like that, the distractions that I had could have been handled. I could have done things differently a while back. The person or people I turned the situation over to didn't handle it like they hoped, or the situation didn't turn out like they hoped. So now I have to jump in after hours of time last week, and it's going to bleed into this week to where I finally get things handled. And that is, yes, shit going sideways. It's stuff that has to be dealt with, and trust me, my whip and pointy shoes are out, and I'm ready to be done with this distraction, as I'm sure if any of you are listening that understand what I'm talking about, you're ready to have this handled as well. But when you're running a business, you have to figure it out, right? Like my client who was at the doctor appointments with her kids. You got to rub your belly and pat your head. And when we meet, we'll talk about getting back on track. One more thing each day, whether she does 15 more minutes of work after the kids go to bed, one more task, so she can keep on keeping on until this shit show is cleaned up. All right, so think about that. What's going on in your life? What distractions are there? What is causing you to get off track and start applying the things I've been talking about in the last few podcasts of one more thing, keep on keeping on, rubbing your belly and patting your head. They're all tied together, all right? I guess some people say put one foot in front of the other, just get up and crank it out. But you have to think proactively and efficiently about it, not just put your nose down and work until the sun goes down, right? You have to be proactive about it. So this week, as you are reviewing your month, because this is the last week of March, last week of the first quarter, review your month, review your first quarter, think about and write down, post here, email me, sballard@growingforward.biz. What's one thing that's distracted you? Or if it's been multiple distractions, what are those distractions? What were they? What are they? How have you gotten back on track? And if you're not back on track, then you best give me a call or email me, sballard@growingforward.biz. Let's talk through things like I did with a couple people here that I've referred to. We'll get you back on track pretty quickly, and you'll know how to move forward from here on out, all right? Because you have to remember that you are worth it, all right? It's not necessarily the goals. Are the goals worth it? Are you worth it? And the goals will come along with it, all right? Have a great week. I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks again. Cheers.